fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. I'm Daphne, and I'm here today with a bit of a combo video. It's sort of a whip and chat because I'm going to be working just so there's something on the screen for you guys to look at. But what I want to talk about today are the 10 things that I wish I'd known before I started diamond painting. So go grab one of your whips, settle in. I don't know how long this is going to take, we'll see, but I'm going to zoom into where I'm going to be working and I'll be right back. All right, let me pick out a drill here and we'll get started. So 10 things that I wish I'd known before I started diamond painting. Some of these are going to be practical, some of these may be a little less so, but all things that I wish I had known before I started diamond painting, for various reasons, and I'll explain those as I go along. So, number one, things I wish I'd known. The very first one, steel tips. When I first started diamond painting, I spent so long fighting with the pink wax and those tiny pink pens and trying to do all of the diamond painting that I was doing. I am a very hard placer, which means that I am very hard on pens and tips. One of the things I found was that with the pink pens, the brass tip, I'm a heavy placer and the tips would get bent out of shape. And I didn't understand why. I mean, I didn't have anything to compare it to. So I'm assuming I'm a heavy placer since a lot of people don't seem to have that problem. So when I first started diamond painting, after struggling with the pink tips, pink pens for so long, I was so happy when I discovered everlasting tips. I happened to be over on Etsy and I saw them and I immediately thought, yes, I need those. Now, when they first came out, they were just the barrels so that you could replace them in any of the pins. And then eventually it moved into these kind of all-in-one steel tips. And at first it was only for single placers. It didn't include multi-placers. Those came out later as well. But I love them. Would never ever go back to the pink pens. Every pen that I have has a single all-in-one steel tip, single placer, and then some sort of multi-placer or straightener on the other end. After using metal multi-placers, there's no way that I could go back to the plastic ones. I do keep a couple of the plastic ones around just in case, but my preference is always the metal ones. I just think they work so much better and I just prefer them. And that's what it should be about, right? Things that make me happy. So yeah, I don't use the pink pens anymore. Also, one of the things that used to drive me crazy was that when you were refilling the wax would go up inside the pen because the brass tips were hollow. I just don't like that. So yeah, after discovering metal tips, the steel tips for the single placers and the metal multi-placers, I've never gone back to the plastic ones. So that was number one. Number two, what else do I wish I had known? Number two is another one that I use pretty much every day, and that is glue dots and putty. Like I said, I struggled with the pink pen and the pink wax. It felt like I was refilling the pen every 4 drills, and it just got to be super frustrating. So I went out and started searching for alternatives. People were using all kinds of different putty and wax from various places that you could get on Etsy. People were using the pretty placers. I tried the pretty placers, but I am too heavy of a placer, so those did not work for me as well. And what I discovered after spending way too much time being frustrated with the pink wax and the pink pens was glue dots. Just simple glue dots that you can buy at any craft or big box store. And I load them into my steel tips. Now, I only use glue dots in my single placers. I have seen people who've used glue dots in their multi-placers. I've tried it. I do not like it. But I love my glue dots when you're looking for that snap of placing drills. Nothing gives you that pop like the glue dots. And I was actually laughing because I sometimes think it's kind of annoying when my husband and I are watching TV, because I'll be sitting at my table doing diamond painting and he'll be on the couch watching TV, and he said to me last weekend, I need you to make a recording of that. And I said, why? And he said, it's so soothing just listening to all the popping. I can fall asleep to it. Which made me feel really good because one, I wasn't annoying him, and two, that he was relaxed enough around the sound that he could fall asleep. So yeah, just love, love, love my glue dots. The other thing I did was test out, like I mentioned, all the different kinds of putty. I tried the pretty placers, I tried some other wax, and then I tried museum putty and blue tack. I did a while ago, it's been several years. Maybe I should revisit it at some point, but several years ago I did a wax test. I'll stick a link to it up there, kind of comparing how long do each of them last. And everybody has their preferences. I've had people tell me that they can't stand the glue dots. They much prefer the pink wax. If that's what works for you, then great. I want the glue dots and I want the putty. The putty is what I put in my multi-placers. I'm currently using the museum putty. It's super inexpensive. I've tried the blue tack, museum putty I just prefer over the blue tack, but they both work pretty much the same. You just pull off a little snake of it. It's almost like Play-Doh, kind of roll it up. I put it in my multi-placers and I'm good to go. Now, it doesn't last forever, but it lasts way longer than the wax does for me. And it just, having the putty and the glue dots just made everything so much more enjoyable while I was working. I didn't feel like I was having to stop every 5 seconds and put wax back in my pen. It just made everything go that much more smoothly, which is what you want. So number 2 on I wish I'd known was my glue dots and putty. I would never, never, never go back to the pink wax. I do keep some on hand just for emergencies, but I very rarely use it. My daily use is my glue dots and my museum putty. Number 3 is I wish I had known size matters. When I very, very first started diamond painting, I discovered it during lockdown, during COVID, as I think many people did. I saw it on Amazon and it looked really intriguing. I'd been a cross stitcher for a long time and had to give that up because of my carpal tunnel. This looked very similar and I thought, oh, this looks like something I could do. But instead of jumping in with both feet like I normally do, I thought, well, let me get a couple of kits and see if I even like it. And if I like it, then I can invest in some larger kits and I'll just go from there. So the very first ones that I did were just some very small 30 by 30 partial special drill mandalas. But it was enough to let me know that I absolutely enjoyed it, and it just kind of ballooned from there. After I decided I was going to stick with it, I bought some larger kits. I found, I think it was around a 40 by 50 of Marvel characters for my nephew. He's super into Marvel, and so I made that for him. It was a round kit and it turned out okay, but I was not happy with how pixelated it was because I had no idea at the time how to think about size and everything. I bought a larger 40 by 40, maybe even 50 by 50 of wolves that I wanted to make for my daughter, and it was square. They turned out okay. They were not as pixelated as the Marvel picture, but I still wasn't happy with it. And then one day it was like, oh, a light bulb went on. Diamonds are pixels. If I want my photos to look better, I need a camera that has more pixels. If I want my diamond paintings to look better, I need a diamond painting that has more diamonds and or pixels, right? If it's a very small, not very detailed image, it will look good at smaller sizes. So like a lot of the cartoon stuff that you see looks good at smaller sizes because they're very simple drawings. There's not a lot of shading, there's not a lot of detail. They're very, think coloring book type of paintings. And those will look okay at smaller sizes. But if you're talking about bigger and more detailed images, then you need bigger and more detailed diamond paintings, right? Because you need more pixels. If you have an original image that has lots of shading, lots of color gradations, lots of details, the larger it's going to need to be to look good and not pixelated when you're done with it. Lots of people have done comparison videos. I did one as well. I'll stick a link to it up in the corner. I did a comparison video using a Jasmine Beckett Griffith image. I did a small 30 by 40 of the image, and then I compared that to a much larger Diamond Art Club of the same image. And it's amazing the amount of detail. And it's not that the smaller one looks bad necessarily. It's just that the larger ones look better and look more true to the original image. It's actually pretty amazing how different the size can be when you're talking about how good the image looks finished. Thing number 4 that I wish I'd known before I started diamond painting involves time. And that is, I wish I had known the amount of time that it takes to complete a diamond painting. I was talking this over with my husband the other day, and for most people, the amount of time doesn't matter. This is a hobby. They're just working on them as they want to work on them. They're not in a hurry. My situation is slightly different in that because I have this channel, I want to always have a project or something on the go so that I have content for the channel. So I tend to work on projects more and to work on more projects than other people. But I think everybody, even people who are just doing this as a hobby, probably underestimates the amount of time that a kit will take you to do. I in fact was joking with my husband that instead of looking at prices on diamond paintings, what I should do is look at the sizes and convert that into my head to how many hours is this going to take me to complete, because that would probably be more help to me in curbing some of my spending and knee-jerk reactions into kits if I actually sat down and thought about, okay, this is going to take me 80 plus hours to complete, or this is going to take me 60 plus hours to complete. I think so many of us just see an image and think, oh, that's beautiful, I want that one. And again, for most people, if you're just doing this as a hobby, then it doesn't matter. But for someone like me who's trying to look at, I need content, that does have to factor into it, because I'm only one person. I can only diamond paint so fast. I only have 2 hands. And even though I probably have way more free time than a lot of people, it does get to be hard to keep up with sometimes. Especially I'm finding that this year when I'm working on much larger paintings. I don't think I realized until this year how many smaller paintings I was actually doing, because everything seems to be taking so much longer this year. That could be a factor, as could many other things, but I know time is definitely one. Square kits take longer than round kits, obviously, because square drills are smaller than round drills. And kits with lots of confetti, like this one, are going to take longer to complete than sections that have lots of color blocking. So again, back to that coloring page analogy, you're going to have big blocks of color in those kind of simpler images. So even though the number of drills might be the same, it would go faster because you're not having to constantly change the color of the drills or place them singly. You can multi-place, which makes it go faster. So yeah, I think time is just one of those things. I wish I had been made aware a lot sooner how much time a lot of these diamond paintings would take. And because a lot of us don't really pay attention to how long a diamond painting will take, I think that's why so many people end up with large stashes, and then at some point in their diamond painting journey decide, you know what, I've got some of these that I bought, I'm probably never going to get around to them, and they will end up destashing them. So yeah, I wish time was something I had considered when I very first started diamond painting. Number 5 that I wish I had known before I started diamond painting, and this is kind of a big one, is FOMO, fear of missing out. I wish I'd known to avoid it. I think a lot of the diamond painting companies are very, very good at marketing and at convincing customers that if you don't buy it now, it will be gone forever. And because so many people bought into that, I think that that's part of the reason we've all ended up with large stashes. Oh, well, I've got to buy it now, even if I know I'm not going to get to it for a while. If I don't get it now, it will be gone. And what I have discovered is two things. One, that's not always true. Many of the companies will restock kits at a later date. Yeah, you may have to wait for a while for it to come around again. For example, when Flower Crazy first came out, I wanted that image as soon as I saw it, but I didn't get it. And when I finally decided I wanted it, it was sold out. I was disappointed, but I had plenty of other kits in my stash, so it wasn't a huge deal. And probably a year or so later, they restocked it, and I managed to get my hands on it. So yeah, I had to wait for a while, but that's okay. It came around at a time that was good for me. And now I've done it and it all worked out. So just because a company says, oh, it'll never be available again, that's not necessarily true. They may restock it. Also, sometimes an image that you like or an artist that you like may leave one company and get picked up by another diamond painting company. So maybe an image that you thought you could only get from one company is suddenly available from someone else. So you may have an opportunity there. And of course, if you really, really want an image, you can always hit the reseller market or destash market and see if you can find someone that has that unicorn kit that you're looking for. That's probably not the best way to go about it because there are lots of people who unfortunately try to scam people, knowing that people are looking for those unicorns. But there's also people who genuinely have those unicorns, but are out to make a pretty decent buck off of it. And while I can appreciate people trying to make some money off of something, I mean, it's a free country, go for it, but I'm not going to pay some of those prices. I mean, if a kit came out and it was $150, let's say, and it suddenly was discontinued or unavailable for whatever reason, I might pay a little bit more than that $150, but I'm certainly not going to pay double or triple the original price. Now, that's my decision. You might feel differently about your unicorn, so it's all what the market will bear, right? But you don't have to be afraid of FOMO. And as often as these diamond painting companies do new releases, I mean, some companies only release every couple of months. Some companies release every month. Some companies release every week. Some people release multiple times a week. And every company out there has an inventory that they're carrying. So there's never a shortage of diamond paintings, despite what they would like you to think. And I've actually found that kind of in line with time and building a stash and all these other things, that I really needed to kind of sit with it and see. I very rarely buy new releases weekly anymore. I mean, when I very first started diamond painting and I discovered some of these companies, yeah, every week I was right on there waiting for the opening time to roll around. Could I get this one? Could I get that one? And some of those kits are still sitting in my stash. So clearly it was not as big a deal to me to get them as I had convinced myself that it was. So yeah, FOMO, something I really wish that I had known to avoid when I very first started diamond painting. All right, number 6 on my list of things I wish I had known, and that is to buy images that you love. And this sort of goes along with the FOMO and the time element, because if you don't buy images you love, if you just buy images that you kind of like, those are the ones that end up sitting around in your stash. I'm still contemplating what I want to do. I've got people telling me to take my stash with me. I've got people telling me to get rid of it, and everything in between. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm still debating. Part of it is I'm still figuring out what we're taking and what we're not taking. But I told my husband I could probably go through my stash that I have right now, and if I pulled out the kits that I absolutely want to do, that if someone said you have to give this up, I would be like, nope, no way, I'm keeping that one, I'm absolutely doing that one. I could probably cut my stash in half, if not more. And that's not to say that I don't like the other kits in my stash. I do, but there are some images that I like more than others. So it's that thing of, I love these images, I only like these images. And because I got caught up in FOMO, and because I didn't really stop to think about how long all of these diamond paintings would take me to complete, I've ended up with this stash that is going to take me a long time to work through. And that time keeps getting longer because even as I'm completing kits, I'm adding to the stash. But I will say that these days I am much more picky about what I buy. Like I said, I will look at the new releases each week, but it's pretty rare that I actually go out and buy any of them. Instead of buying something new every week, I'm much more likely at the beginning of the month to go back through my wish list and look at a bunch of the kits that I've put on that wish list and say, is this something I still really, really love? Was it just a FOMO moment where I was caught up in, oh, that's really cool, but I don't really want it? Take some time to, rather than just reacting to the image, look at the size. Is it a round or a square? Think about how long it would take me to complete. Is this an image I love? Most of the time when I do that, I would say probably 90% of the time, it's not an image that I actually love, which is kind of disappointing in some ways because who doesn't want to buy a new diamond painting? But it's also keeping me from being very reckless and just accumulating even more paintings that at some point I'm going to say, you know what, I don't even really know why I bought that one. I'm going to go ahead and let that go. And that's also one of the things that I'm thinking about with the stash is, if I take it with me all the way to Canada, is it something that I'm likely going to complete? Or is it something that I'm going to decide, you know what, I can probably let that go? Now, I've been advised to just take them all with me to Canada and then make that decision once I'm in Canada. And I may do that. Like I said, I don't know. I haven't made a bunch of decisions as far as that goes yet. I am finding, however, as I go through things, that it's getting a little bit easier to make decisions on some things. So that was number 6, buy images you love. Number 7 of things I wish I had known before I started was how expensive this hobby can be. I tried to not jump in with both feet and started out with some smaller kits to see if it was something that I would like to do. And yet I still managed to spend an eye-watering amount of money on this hobby in the first year. Some of that was me starting the channel and buying a bunch of new things to try and to have content for the channel. But a lot of it was just me going, ooh, I have this new hobby and I love it. Let me buy all the things. I had no concept when I first started of premium versus budget diamond painting companies. My first probably 5 or 6 kits that I bought off of Amazon. I've said many times on the channel, I live rurally. That was just an easy way to get things to my house, especially it was during lockdown. Going shopping at a craft store was not a thing. And so most of what I had came from Amazon. Once I discovered the kind of more premium companies like Dreamer Designs, Diamond Art Club, and so on, I ordered from them. My very first Diamond Art Club was Grandiose Grease, which was a Dominic Davidson. It was huge. Again, I had no concept of size or time, but it was a much better experience than I had had with the budget kits that I'd been getting on Amazon. Premium kits are worth the money for the experience. The products are just typically better quality, which is why they cost more, but it does make for a smoother diamond painting experience. Now, again, everybody's budget is different. Everybody's financial situation is different. So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what my experience was and what I wish I had known. I also wish, in addition to the difference between premium and budget, I wish I had known about signing up for all of the rewards systems and everything at all of the various companies. because I could have saved myself a pretty significant chunk of money if I had ever remembered to use any of the points that I was accumulating, which even today I don't always remember to do. But anything that you can do to save yourself some money, whether it's using somebody else's referral code, most of them have some sort of thank you percentage off that you can use anytime. Some of them you get certain codes at holidays or sales or whatever. So take advantage of those, take advantage of the rewards points and etc. just to save yourself some money, because it can get expensive. Because it's not just the kits. Once you get into this hobby, then it's, well, now I need a custom pin. I need the steel tips. I need some prettier trays. I need multi-placers. I need cover minders. I need pretty release papers. There are a million different options out there. And who doesn't want all of the pretty things while they're working on a kit? Of course we all do. But it's so easy to get kind of caught up in all of the trappings that you just end up spending way more money than you think, or at least I did. So I wish I had known about some of those things before, so that I had known to be a little bit more mindful of what I was spending. Number 8 is kind of controversial, and I actually debated with myself whether or not I even wanted to mention it, because it seems to be so controversial for some people. I'm not going to get into the whole argument here. I will just say that I wish I had known before I started diamond painting what a hot button issue copyright is in the diamond painting community. Now, I support artists having copyright, but I have seen some people do some pretty awful things in the name of supporting copyright. And I think that the issue is going to just get even more complicated now with the advent of AI art. For right now, it's been ruled that AI art cannot be copyrighted, but how do you determine if something is copyrighted and or AI? You know, it used to be that you could do a Google image search or something to see if an image was copyrighted somewhere. And with the explosion of AI art, for one thing, so much art looks so much the same that it's kind of hard to tell apart. And I think because of the sheer volume that image searches can only do so much, I think they've become overwhelmed. So it's nearly impossible these days, if you just happen to come across an image, to discover whether it is an actual artist piece, or whether it's something that somebody has generated with AI, because AI art can't be copyrighted. So people who are selling, gosh, millions of things, people who are selling coloring book pages, people who are selling any kind of AI image that they've put on anything, from a diamond painting kit to release papers to whatever, those legally, at least right now, can't be copyrighted. So it just becomes this huge kind of unknown gray area. So I just wish I had known beforehand what a big, like I said, hot button issue that it is in the community. Number 9, I really wish I had known when I started out diamond painting about diamond painting events. When I very first started diamond painting, of course, like I said, we were all in lockdown. Everybody was very isolated. If I had known about diamond painting events, I think that would have been a really good way for me to kind of not feel so isolated. Diamond painting events, if you don't know, basically someone hosts an event, they pick a theme, you pick a canvas, a kit that goes along with that theme, and then, and whatever other rules they have, and then everybody completes the diamond painting. Usually they run for a month, some run for more. And then at the end, they'll have some sort of a drawing for prizes. Some of them require a new start, some of them require a finish, some of them require both. Some of them only require that you do a certain size section. It just kind of depends. Events are as different as the people doing them. All different kinds of themes and everything. But I wish I had known about them, and I wish I had known where to go to find out about them. Events are a good way to meet like-minded crafters and introduce yourself to others who like diamond painting as much as you do. It's also a nice way to maybe win some fun prizes and to, you know, win for free some of those fun items or kind of upscale items that maybe you wouldn't have purchased for yourself. Custom pens, diamond painting trays, actual kits, cover minders, any of those things could be in a event prize package. And so it's kind of a win-win situation for that. Meet some new people, have fun working on a diamond painting, and maybe win some cool stuff. It's also, for me, events have been a really good excuse to maybe pull out some diamond paintings that I wouldn't have worked on and do them a little bit sooner than I would have otherwise. Because, oh, well, I can pull this out because there's this event going on, and that's going to spur me to get this diamond painting completed instead of letting it just kind of languish in my stash for who knows how long. So I wish I had known more about diamond painting events when I very first started. So that was number 9. Number 10 is the most important one, in my opinion, and it's one that I often forget because, unlike many people, as I said, I'm also running this channel, so this is not strictly a hobby for enjoyment for me. Not that I don't enjoy it, I do, but there are times when I get stressed and feel like I'm behind schedule. Whenever I say something like that, I get a lot of comments for people about relax, take your time, da-da-da. It's not that I am not mindful of that. It's just that I'm running a YouTube channel, and so I need to have content. That's just the reality of it. But number 10, the biggest one to remember is to just enjoy the process. This is, for most of us, your hobby and your time to enjoy. So don't stress about how long something takes. Don't stress, oh my gosh, I didn't place my drills perfectly. I get a lot of comments about my drill placement. My drill placement is not perfect. It's very easy in photos to make it appear as if the drills are placed perfectly, but if you really look at them, nobody places their drills perfectly unless they've been using something like a ruler to help them. And 99% of the time, when you step back from the image, when you don't have your nose buried in it because you're actually placing drills, when you step back from the image, you're never going to see your slightly misplaced drills. So just enjoy the process. Do things the way that you want. Don't let anybody tell you how to do it differently. If you prefer rounds, do rounds. If you prefer squares, do squares. If you like partials, do those. If you like smaller kits, do those. If you would rather use the pink pen, do that. If you would prefer to have a specialty tray made just for you and you can afford it, do that. If you like using cute washi tape that matches all of your kits and you have fun shopping for them, do that. Do what works for you. Maybe you like working on really big projects and taking your time, then do that. Maybe you like to single place everything, do that. There's no rule that says you have to multi-place or somehow you're not a real diamond painter. Right? This is all about finding that time to craft, to find that zen, that relaxation that is a huge part of it for most of us, and to make something either for yourself or something that you're giving away, or maybe you're just making for the enjoyment of making it. As you work through diamond paintings, you will discover what you like and what you don't. Don't let anybody make you feel bad for what you like and what you don't. Some people like really big diamond paintings. Some people really like small ones. I prefer very colorful images. I'm not a big fan of dark and gothic. That doesn't mean that I think people who do dark and gothic images are wrong. I just think they have a different taste than I do, and that's okay. Because this world would be very boring if we were all the same, right? Our differences are what make us interesting. So I think that's my biggest takeaway from this whole thing, is to just do images that bring you joy. I mean, that's what my whole Want series is about. Looking through my stash and going, I definitely want to do this one. Just looking at this picture makes me happy. So I know working on that picture would make me happy. I think a lot of us spend a lot of time thinking about what we should do rather than what we want to do. And that's definitely not how I want to approach my crafting. I hope you found this list helpful. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know which tip or which item resonated the most strongly with you. Did the FOMO resonate? Did thinking about how much time something should take resonate? Or if you think I've missed something along the way and there's something else I should take into consideration, let me know that too. What's one of the things that you wish you had known before you started diamond painting? So I didn't get a huge amount done while I was going over all of my wish I'd knowns, but that's okay. I'm going to continue to work on this kit that is making me happy because of how colorful and pretty it is. I'll stick a link to the canvas down below if you're interested in checking it out. That's it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the video. Before you leave, don't forget to do all the things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.